Good girl, Yellow.
Max Prairie Wings presents At the Line.
The e-collar, the electronic collar. Probably the most controversial training tool that's probably been around in history, but it's without a doubt the most humane and best way to train your dog. But before you do that, you've got to collar condition. You got to condition your dog to understanding where that pressure's coming from, why it's being applied, and that it's not just some act of God coming down going, bang, you did wrong, okay? So what we've got to do, we've got to make that dog understand where this pressure's coming from. It's very, very simple, and there's a seamless and very, very easy way to do this that will create absolutely no side effects. You've got to train your dog basic obedience, but once you get that basic obedience established, this is very simple, and there's absolutely nothing to it. We're going to condition to sit, and we're going to condition to hear. Once we've got that worked out, we've increased the pressure, the dog understands what's going on. It takes a few days, sometimes a week, sometimes 2 weeks. Once they understand that, you're off and rolling. Here we go. All right, we've got Steve Millman here with Sally. Sally's 3 years old. Now, she's been through this, but I'm going to show you an easy way to do it. We're going to get the e-collar on the dog. We want it right behind their ears, okay? There's a heavy block of muscle on the bottom of a dog's neck. If you get it right behind their ears, you don't have to put it that tight, and the dog breathes much better, and your contact points are always where you want them. So I'm going to put my finger right underneath that collar. All right, I'm going to cinch her up right here, lock that back through, try to keep it from dragging and hanging. Sally's a little girl. So that's how you get it on there. We want it resting on the side of the dog's neck. We've got her facing us. We get it on there good. Now, before we get started with any conditioning, we need to have this collar on this dog for at least a couple of weeks through basic obedience, fun bumpers, all that kind of stuff with it off. Okay, we don't want them to think that's a bad thing. We want to associate the e-collar with something good, which is training, working, having fun, fetching bumpers. So let's get cranked up on some whistle sits, and Steve's going to show us how we transition to an e-collar. Now remember, your dog understands sit. So Steve's going to take her through, and he's going to give a pretty good jerk there, teaching her to sit. You're going to understand why we do that as we start to move forward. Because remember, we're going to have a seamless transition from a choke chain to an e-collar. We want the dog to understand that those two are the same. If you'll view an e-collar like a 400 or 500 or a 3/4 of a mile long choke chain with a check cord on it, then you can do no wrong. Because if the dog can't do it on a choke chain or a check cord, they can't do it with an e-collar.
Heel, sit.
Yeah, good jerk, good. Dog responded great. When we start to use the e-collar and we use less check cord and less choke chain, there's going to be a transition. We want that dog to feel that pressure there. So we have less pressure with our choke chain and more pressure with our e-collar, okay? And before long, he's going to take her around. Go ahead, Steve. And he's going to sit, and he's barely going to pull up on that choke chain, but he's going to use that collar. She's anticipating that pressure.
Good, sit.
Good. You see how quick that was? I mean, boom, right on the spot. That's what you need. When you're running a great big long blind with a lot of suction, dogs going in and out of the trees, and boom, you need that dog to stop so they can see you to take that cast when you're trying to get to that bird far away. You got to have that instantaneous sit. Now, keep in mind, he's not using E-pressure every time.
Heel, sit.
Good job, good. So we're going through. Now, this may take a few days, but don't start this until your dog understands what sit is, and we'll try to get there every time. We're looking for good effort. We're not starting heavy or hard. And remember, we've had that e-collar on that dog for at least a week or two, so they understand that it's part of great stuff. It's part of fetching and fun and hunting and training and all that good stuff. All right, that's how you condition to sit. Very easy, seamless transition from a check cord and a choke chain to an e-collar. Very simple. Next week, we're going to cover conditioning to hear. Once you get those two knocked out, you're in business.